Hi guys, I'm Madison. I thought we could go over all of the sewing patterns that I've bought. Some of them I recommend more than others, and I could walk you through my experience using them. The first one I bought was the halter neck dress pattern Cecilia from cinnamondollcrochet. I got this from Etsy for $3.85. I didn't know about like AI sewing patterns, so I'm not totally sure if this is one of them. It is very cheap, so maybe it is. But my experience with it, it was the first sewing pattern I had ever bought. I was definitely a beginner sewer when I made my dress. I actually did it twice because I wanted a tester one and then I wanted my real dress. I had a good experience, I would say. I'd rank it like a 6 out of 10. I wouldn't say it's like super beginner friendly, just because you actually do have to place certain items really well. I also used a stretchy fabric, so it made it harder to sew with. Again, I didn't know that going into it, so I just used a regular needle. I didn't think that I needed to use a non-stretchy fabric in order to sew better. I should have known. Regardless, I think the dress turned out okay. I wouldn't say this is the pattern's total fault because I ended up modifying it a little bit. I made the dress longer, I used stretchy fabric, and that's pretty much all the changes that I made. And I don't think the details were like so comprehensive that you wouldn't have any questions. I would say it gives like very little detail. The next two patterns that I purchased were from Tillys Patterns Studio on Etsy again. I purchased most of my sewing patterns from Etsy. I got the Eléa pants first, and I am in love with these pants. Guys, I used the perfect fabric. I just used like a bare cotton, and I'm in love with them. I've worn them countless times. They're probably my most worn piece I've ever sewed because they're the most comfortable and I love how they look. They sit right on my hips. They're very low-waisted. The only qualm I have with it is that there are no pockets, but it's very easy to add pockets. I will say too, they are very tall girl friendly. So if you have shorter legs, maybe adjust, and you can totally adjust because it's a pretty easy pattern. So you really sew everything before you sew the bottoms of the pants. So you have room to cut them if you are a shorter girl, a shorter person. I would say my experience using the pattern, again, I don't think that Tillys Pattern Studio gives too much detail. They didn't like give a comprehensive video. They really just like gave you the directions. But the pattern was easy enough, especially these pants, where you really didn't need much help. So I would rank this one like a 8 out of 10, honestly. Maybe 7.5. I think 8 out of 10 because of how easy the pattern in general was. Also, I'm thinking of adding pockets. What I'll say too about the Eléa pants that I forgot to mention is I made them twice. The first one, the blue one. The second one I made them with an old bedsheet, and it was kind of a thicker linen-like fabric, and I don't think it draped as nicely as the cotton did. So I think if you're going to make these pants, cotton works best. It does give fabric recommendations, but I don't buy my fabrics online. I buy them in person from a wholesale shop, so it's hard for me to get like exact fabrics. I don't know, you could be different, but that's why I didn't necessarily listen to the fabric directions. That's on me though. The next pattern I got from Tillys Pattern Studio was the Evie Mini dress. This is my new favorite dress. I do have some comments though. Okay, so I don't think it's super beginner friendly. I don't think it's super beginner friendly. If you are completely new at sewing, this probably shouldn't be your first project, but it's not like super difficult. I would say it looks more complicated than it really is. It's probably like a medium level. If you've gone through a few sewing patterns, this is like your next level up, okay? The other thing is, the zipper that I used was not long enough, and my hips are just generally larger. So when I try to take the dress off, it's almost impossible. Like I was sweating when I tried to take this dress off. And that's kind of on me, but it didn't specify that you should like measure where your zipper ends to like the widest part of your body. So I would just say be wary of that. Like if you have a different shaped body than I do, I also have broader shoulders, then maybe it won't be an issue for you. But that was my experience. Another thing is I'm a tall person. So I am 5'9". The dress is very short on me. It's not too short where I can never wear it, but it definitely crosses that line. So if I were to make it again, which I probably will at some point, I would definitely make it slightly longer. The next pattern that I created was from Faye Studios, and it was the mini bow tote sewing pattern. I thought this was probably the best pattern I've ever followed because she had a video, she had pictures, she was very detailed in the instructions. I think it's beginner friendly. It's a really, really cute bag, and yeah, I have no complaints. In terms of like feasibility, this ranks like a 9 or 10 out of 10. So Faye Studios is great. My sister also bought their pants. I forgot what they were called, but she speaks very highly of them. I'll probably steal the pattern off of her or buy it myself and create those pants too because they have a lot more pockets. But yeah, no complaint. Highly recommend Faye Studios. That was a great bag. I know she has some other bags, so I think I want to try those next. The last pattern that I bought was from Patterns by Clarissa, and it was the Keyhole top. This one I also really, really like. I actually haven't finished it. I'm almost done with the top. I will say the directions for this one are very minimal, so I don't think it's beginner friendly. I think there's like 4 pages of it with like 3 directions per page, whereas like other sewing patterns are very, very comprehensive. This one is just like, oh yeah, do this. Oh yeah, do this and this. Do this and this and this. So not beginner friendly, but if you know how to sew and if you know how to like look things up and you're used to that, then like this should be fine, but there's no video attached. She really explains very much so at a high level. So just be aware of that. But I still think the pattern is really cute. And I assume that once I have created it, it'll be really cute. Next, I guess I just wanted to talk about my experience using sewing patterns versus going freehand. I have only been sewing for about a year now, give or take. And it's been a really, really fun journey, I have to say. I didn't even really know about sewing patterns prior to starting to sew, and they're awesome for beginners. I am really thankful that I don't have to think of these designs. I don't have to come up with the measurements on my own. But now that I've been sewing for a year, I definitely want to try more and more to take sewing patterns as I see them online, like not even necessarily cutting them out exactly using like the stencils, but I would love to like measure here, measure my neckline, like, and then form the piece. I see other people on YouTube doing that or other people on TikTok doing that. So that's my next step. I also really admire the creators who just like experiment overall and try to make things that they see in person or in magazines, whatever. Cup of Jordy does this really well. I'm obsessed with her videos. She recently made a lot of hats, which I thought was so cool because I hadn't even thought to make hats. So far, I've only made bags and items of clothing, but it's been really fun. Those are my beginner tips. If you are a beginner, start with patterns, start with easy things that you could flip and upcycle in your own closet that you think if you upcycle, you wear it more often. Other than that, I have no other input. Thank you so much for watching. If you are also in your sewing journey, if you're an expert, because sometimes experts comment on my videos and I'm always like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I would love to hear about your experience using sewing patterns. I'd also love to hear if you just like freehand in general and like use tester fabrics before you actually start a piece, if you create your own stencils. I've seen some people do that. Yeah, I'm very curious. Thank you again for watching. Bye.